state calls Michael Freeman.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Officer Freeman, would you state your name and spell your name for the record?
My name is Michael Freeman, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Last name is Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N.
And Officer Freeman, I see you work for the Dallas Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are in a special capacity, is that correct?
Yes, I serve the Dallas Police Departments in two different ways. I'm a civilian, and my current position is in narcotics as a senior criminal intelligence analyst. And I've been serving the city as a civilian for 23 years. And I'm also a reserve police officer. I've been serving the city as a reserve officer for 27 years.
Okay. And you say currently you're in the narcotics division?
I'm currently assigned to narcotics.
And what do you do over there?
I analyze phone records. I try to find suspects that they're looking for. I also extract cell phones from the suspects that they arrest.
Do you, at some point, call upon to do what we call cell tower mapping?
Yes.
Okay. And what program do you use to do that?
Well, it depends. Let me just back up real quick. During the 2015 year, I was actually assigned to the Fusion Intelligence Center. And the mapping software that I use is PinLink. And what it does is it takes either call detail records and it enters it into the PinLink program, and then it exports it to a Google Earth program.
And when you say call detail records, is that the records that has the cell tower locations for latitude, longitude, that's generally given to us by Metro PCS, T-Mobile, AT&T?
That is correct. Any of the cell call detail records that we get will have the cell tower name, and it'll also include the latitude and longitude of where the cell tower is.
Okay. Also, using the PinLink system, can you take cell phone dumps and do things with it?
That is correct. In the PinLink program, you can import call detail records, or you can import a Cellbrite phone extraction into the program, which will then do the analytics of the cell towers or the call detail records.
And in preparation for this particular trial, and even before, were you given a task to do that with the list of phone numbers, either by myself or Detective Barnes?
Both.
Okay. Mayor Kristopher, Shaw? Officer Freeman, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 156, 157, 153, 154, and 155. $158 and $159, and $160 and $161. Do you recognize these documents?
Yes, I do. These are extraction reports from a Cellbrite.
And are these the reports that were run on the phone belonging to Kristopher Love?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how are reports ran? Let's talk a little bit about that.
So once you import either call detail records from the phone provider or through the extraction report from Cellbrite, then you can go in and choose multiple numbers to run analysis on, or you can run single numbers to run analysis on.
Okay. And so if we wanted to do a particular number, we can select that one number and run a report?
That's correct.
Okay. And so these documents are various reports run based off of the cell phone dump that belonged to Christopher Love, is that correct?
That is correct.
State would offer $156, $157.
$153 through $161, are those the exhibits you're offering?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
No objection, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish?
You may.
Now, Officer Freeman, in State's Exhibit number 151, this is an extraction report.
I'm sorry, what exhibit?
153, I'm sorry. 153. This is an extraction report ran off of Mr. Love's phone, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay. And then the first column, we're looking at August 28th of 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the party number saying?
214-229-7810.
And the letter saying that it's KR?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that something that was inside of the phone saved? How does that get there?
That gets there through the phone directory
So
of the
what's
phone.
basically in his contacts?
Yes, it is in his contacts list.
Okay. And then line 2. This is a number, this call actually is made to the same phone number, correct?
Correct.
And it's saved under Crystal.
That is correct.
Okay. What is the distinction, or do you know why one is Crystal and why one is KR?
When I did the phone extraction on Crystal's phone, that was in the call directory on her phone for that number of the defendant, KR.
Okay. So when this report was generated, it merged the two records?
That's correct.
Okay. So in her phone, it was listed as KR, and in his phone, it was listed as Crystal?
And her number is, in her phone is Crystal.
Okay. And then in the last column of the phone, on this record, it says delete, and it's highlighted yes.
Yes.
In red. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how does that occur?
That's when the person who has the phone goes in and deletes the call records from the phone.
And when this report is run, does it generate all call logs and text messages when you run the report in the timeline?
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at page 3 of State's 153. There's a message from September 4th of 2015, and that message is line number 25, 2, and it's the same number, correct?
That's correct.
But it doesn't have any names or initials to it. And what does that text message read?
What's up with the Kush?
Okay. And is that from Mr. Love's phone to what we know previously as Crystal Cortez's phone?
That is from Love's phone to Crystal Cortez's phone. It's a text message.
Now, on these messages, The red desk indicated that it was deleted, however, we have them. How does that occur? Where it shows that it's deleted, but the UFED reader or Cellbrite still is able to obtain some of that information.
It's still held inside the actual phone itself, but the message is gone. It's deleted, or the call log is deleted.
Looking at State's Exhibit 156, this was another report ran on another particular phone number that's labeled Mustang. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the call started around September 1st of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And the last call was noted on September 4th of 2015. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And there was a total of 21 calls in those 3-4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And looking at line number 9 there, that is a text message to Mustang, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it gives the address of 7272 Marvin D. Love.
That's correct.
Do you know that area?
Yes.
Okay. What type of area is that?
It's all apartment complexes off of Camp Wisdom and 67.
Okay. And there's apartments over there, Surrey Row Apartments?
Surrey Row Apartments. Yes, ma'am.
And there's, I think, a Mandalay something over there, or they used to be the same, one and the same?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, in State's Exhibit 158, looking at this was a distraction run on the phone number from Mr. Love's phone to 469-544-3116. Looking at line number 3, 2 and 3, it says, "Call me, this is Kelly." Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And these messages were also deleted?
Yes, ma'am.
This report indicates that there were 19 calls to this particular number. Is that right?
19, yes, ma'am.
Looking at State's Exhibit 159, another report ran, but this is a different number, 972-750-2701. State's Exhibit 159, and here looking at line number line number 7. It's a SMS message, basically a text message, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is this the same number, this Kelly? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Further down there on line number 9, it seems that they're asking about somebody named Angel.
That's correct.
Now, on a cell phone dump, are you able to also obtain the web searches?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you can run a report based off of a person's web history, is that correct?
It's on the extraction of the phone. You can pull it out of the extraction.
And I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 160. And at the top it says web history 389. What does that mean?
That means where has he gone on this browser?
So it's 389 different sites or such.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to look at State's Exhibit 161. Line number 24, that's the date of 9/3 of 2/15. What is he searching for?
Killings in Dallas.
And that's at 3:52.
It's on September 3rd, 2015 at 3:52.
Okay. And then line number 23, what's his next search?
Woman murdered in Uptown Dallas parking garage.
Let's look at line number 21. What is his search there?
On September 3rd at 6:31, he was searching for gun shops.
And then line number 20,
He's searching for gun shops in 75237. I believe that's going to be the zip code that he was looking for gun shops in.
and then he goes on through line 17, going up, also looking for golden gun shop.
Searching for gold and gun swap shops in Dallas.
Okay. Let's look at line number 16. Line number 16, that's dated September 5th of 2015 at 7:21:30 a.m. Okay? What
Correct.
is he searching for there?
He's just looking up the Dallas Morning News article on that offense.
Okay, when we say the offense, what was the actual title there?
Uptown still feels safe, residents say, despite slaying in high-rises garage.
Then on September 6th of 2015 at 11:41 p.m., what was he searching for?
He was going straight to the Dallas Morning News article titled "Dallas Woman Admits Role in Uptown Killing," and the unidentified shooter still at large.
And then on September 7th of 2015 at 12:15 a.m., what is he searching?
He's actually doing a Google search of Dallas homicides.
September 7th, 2015, 12:19 a.m., what is he searching?
He is looking at homicides in the Dallas Morning News crime blog.
And then his next search?
He's going directly to the Dallas Morning News article titled "Dallas Police ID Woman Slain in Uptown Apartment Garage."
On 9/7 of 2015 at 2:46 p.m., is he still doing Google searches about Dallas homicide?
He does a Dallas homicide Google search.
And then his next search is to where?
9/7 at 2:46, he goes directly to the DallasPolice.net page and looks at the homicide division.
And then what next, the page after the homicide division, what is he looking at?
He goes to crime info at the DallasPolice.net webpage.
On September 8th of 2015 at 9:45 p.m., what is he searching?
He is looking at the Dallas Morning News on Twitter, and he's looking at the actual affidavit that was put on the webpage.
And that's the affidavit ex-girlfriend of slaying Vince's boyfriend linked to murder plot?
Yes.
And then on 9/9/2015 at 6:24 p.m., he's looking at, what is this, the Dallas Morning News article?
He's again looking at the Dallas Morning News webpage entitled "Dallas Dentist Ambush," looking at the security rules, only work if we follow them.
On 9/10 of 2015,
He goes to the Dallas Morning News webpage and looks at the slain dentist's ex-husband saddened by Kendra Hatcher's death in Uptown.
9/12 of 2015, he does a Google search.
He does a Google search of Dallas homicide.
And then 9/12 of 2015 at 2:10 a.m., he's looking at WFAA website?
He's looking at, yeah, correct, WFAA website about the woman arrested in the Dallas dentist murder case.
And then the next news article or news site he goes to is which one?
NBC News. He's looking at Crystal Hatcher murder.
And then the last article that we show on this on September 17th of 2015 at 1:18 a.m. What was he searching on that one?
He's looking at a Dallas Morning News article of the ex-girlfriend of the victim's boyfriend linked to killing in Uptown garage.
May I approach the window? Now, Officer Freeman, when you did the dump of the phone, did you go through and look at some of the photos that was on the different phones that you had?
I did not extract the actual phones. I was given the extractions by the detective, Barnes, and then I began to look through all the phones related to the case.
And did you look through the images?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 171.
Sure.
And do you recognize that image?
Yes, it's of a pistol.
Okay. And is that off the properties from Kristopher Love's cell phone dump?
It's off the images from his cell phone, extraction on his phone.
And then I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 172. Through 181 consecutively.
Okay.
Okay. And are these also photos that was on the images extraction?
These were extracted from the defendant's phone.
Okay.
Hold on, put them in order.
State is offering State Exhibit 171 for all purposes, and 172 Thank you, John. 181 for record purposes.
No objection, 171 for all purposes, and the remainder for record.
Amended?
Commissioner Fulton?
Amended. 171.
And Detective Freeman again, this was a pistol that was located, a photo that was located on the defendant's phone, is that correct?
That's correct, off the extraction of his phone in the image section.
And I'm showing you what's been marked and admitted previously as State's Exhibit number 170. Does that appear to be the same photo?
Appears to be the same pistol, or excuse me, the same picture, yes.
And it's the same picture and it pretty much shows the same, similar or the same type gun?
Same characteristics, same type gun.
May I approach her?
No.
Now, Officer Freeman, I'm going to show you report that was taken off of Crystal Cortez's phone.
Okay?
That State's Exhibit 164,
Yes, ma'am.
and then I'm showing you it's also been marked as State's Exhibit 190 and 191.
Okay?
And those are images also that was located on Ms. Cortez's phone, is that correct?
Yes, this is the actual timeline of the call log from Krista Cortez's phone, and these were images that were located in the image section of Krista Cortez's phone.
Okay. And that timeline report, who was those calls made to from Crystal Cortez's phone?
Kristopher Love.
And does she have him saved as Christopher Love?
No, ma'am.
What does she have him saved as in her phone?
Nothing.
Please offer 164, 190, and 191 to the defense for your objection.
Objection.
Are you offering any evidence? And admitted?
Commissioner Poach?
Amen.
Thank you, Your Honor. State's Exhibit 164, this is a timeline, and we said it's from Crystal Cortez's phone to phone number 214-721-5863. And we previously indicated that is the defendant Christopher Love's phone, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many calls were made to that phone number?
7.
And again, this is from the cell phone dump, not from the cell tower records.
This is not from the call detail records from the phone company. This is straight from Crystal Cortez's cell phone dump, the extraction.
State's Exhibit 190. This is an image that was on Crystal Cortez's phone, and it has its properties dated from September 4th of 2015 at 7:38 a.m. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what does that appear to be in her hand?
That's going to be U.S. currency shaped into a heart.
In State's Exhibit 191, it appears to be a selfie.
Yes.
Okay.
On the left is Crystal Cortez, and on the right is Brenda Delgado.
And this photo was created on 9/4/2015 at 7:38 a.m. as well.
Yes, ma'am.
When you reviewed the records on Crystal Cortez's phone, her data started on a particular date from her phone. Do you recall what date it was?
I'd have to look at her actual records, but I believe it was after the offense, I believe.
And that was on the actual phone dump?
That on the phone dump itself, correct, not from the actual cell provider.
Madam Clerk?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 165, which is an extraction report from Brenda Delgado's phone. And then, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
And then that's State's Exhibit 182, 183, 184, 185, 186, 187, 188, and 189. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, ma'am.
And states 165 is an extraction report that is of call logs between Brenda Delgado's phone and Crystal Cortez's phone.
That is correct.
And then states exhibit 182 through 189 consecutive are these image properties off of Brenda Delgado's phone.
That is correct.
State is tendering 165, 182 through 189 consecutive to defense for any objection.
No objection to 182 through 189. No objection to 165.
Are you offering it?
Offering it.
Admitted?
Commissioner Publish?
You may.
Now, Officer Freeman, on this particular report, it shows to have 99 calls.
That's correct.
And phone number 214-229-7810 for Crystal.
That is Crystal Cortez's phone number.
States 182. This is a photo, and it shows message properties from, or image properties created on 3/31/2015. I'm going to show you what's been marked as states exhibit 189. This is a image in Brenda Delgado's phone created on May 24th of 2015. And what does that name state? Right? Can you see that?
That's actually an image of Kendra Hatcher's boyfriend, Ricky.
States exhibit 188. Message properties indicate this picture was created on 6/15/2015.
Correct.
And who was that in that photo?
That's a picture of Kendra Hatcher and Ricky.
And states exhibit 80, is that the same photo?
That's the exact same photo.
States exhibit 184. Message properties indicate that this screenshot was taken on March 31st of 2015.
Correct.
And then states exhibit number 282, I'm sorry, is that the same screenshot?
Yes, ma'am.
States exhibit 183. This message property created on 3/31/2015, and it shows to be reservations of some sort.
Yes, ma'am. Looks like on March 24th, 2015, at about 6:45 p.m.
And that's also depicted in states exhibit 83.
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 186. This message property indicates that this screenshot was taken on May 25th of 2015,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is captioned Ricky's iPhone.
It's showing where Ricky's iPhone was.
And are you familiar with that app?
I believe it's Find My iPhone.
And that is shown here in State's Exhibit 185.
Yes, ma'am.
And then State's Exhibit 187 shows the message properties for this particular image for 8/25 of 2015,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's a red Mitsubishi Galant.
That's correct.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 85 and previously admitted. Are you familiar with the notes section of the iPhone?
That's correct.
Okay. And what is normal people, what do people tend to put in their notes?
Reminders, shopping list, anything that you need to just take down real quick and reference back to later on.
And on this particular note, it appears to have an email address for our Penny Hour
Correct?
and a, some alphabets and numbers on the bottom.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Freeman, were you also tasked with plotting cell phone towers for this particular offense?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Pro Tem? Amen. I'm showing you what's going to be marked as State's Exhibit 162.
Okay.
Okay, have you had an opportunity to review the PowerPoint that was on this disc?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is that a PowerPoint that was created in preparation for this trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what program did you use to create that PowerPoint?
I use Penlink, which then extracts it into a Google Earth mapping program.
State would tender an offer 162 to defense for any objection.
Okay.
Permission to admit State's Exhibit 1 and 2, 162. Commissioner Publisher? You may. Officer Freeman, can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what we're looking at in slide 1 on 162?
This is taking the actual call detail records from a particular phone number and then inputting them into Penlink and then extracting them to plot on a map on Google Earth. And this is an image showing where the person or the phone was at the time of the phone transaction. It shows the tower area. So the shaded area is where the phone or the person's supposedly at.
And when we did this, what time of morning was this particular call?
It was on September 2nd, 2015 at 7:29 a.m.
And then the next slide, slide number 2.
September 2nd, 2015 at 10:34 a.m.
And what area of town is this at?
It's up in northwest Dallas near 635 and I-35.
And is that a Jack in the Box off of Laurel Lane?
Yes, ma'am, 2405 Royal Lane, Dallas.
Slide number 3. What time was this particular?
This was on September 2nd, 2015 at 11:37 a.m.
And what area of town was this particular call logged in?
This is in Central Business District area or uptown Dallas, near downtown Dallas.
And was this close to Ms. Kendra Hatcher's apartment?
Very close in proximity to Kendra Hatcher's apartment at 1700 Cedar Springs Road.
And around 3 p.m. on the same day, Ms. Kristopher Cortez looks like she is moving south.
That's correct. South near I-35.
At 19:40, which is 7:40 p.m. on September 2nd, 2015, what area was Kristopher Cortez's cell phone?
In the area of Kendall or Ms. Hatcher's apartment on Cedar Springs.
At 1947 or 7:47 p.m., Ms. Cortez's phone indicated that she received a call from, I guess, Jose Luis Ortiz's phone.
That's correct.
Okay. And where was his phone located?
Up in the Carrollton area.
And let's talk about this next slide here. These appears to be call detail logs from Ms. Kristopher Cortez's phone, correct?
Correct.
From 16:17, which is 4:17 p.m. till about 17:57, which is like 5:57, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The phone seems to be going to call for it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then the last line here at 17:47:04 shows a call of 214-586-7663 that was made to Kristopher Cortez.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry, I said 17, it's 1947, which is 7:47 p.m.
Yes, ma'am.
And is that phone we later learned is Jose Ortiz's phone?
That is Jose
Luis Ortiz.
Luis Ortiz phone, and he was hitting the tower at 2299 North Josie Lane in Carrollton.
Now, the next slide we're looking at is Christopher Love's cell tower, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. On September 1st, 2015, at 9:02 a.m., what was his tower hitting off of?
It was hitting off of the East Irving Tower, which is near Kendra Hatcher's dentistry office at 245 East Grawweiler in Irving.
At 10:26 a.m. on the same day, what was his tower hitting off of?
Near the Jack in the Box at 2405 Royal Lane in Dallas.
And it's the same Jack in the Box that Ms. Cortez was at?
Same exact. Yes, ma'am.
At 11:31 a.m., what was Mr. Love's phone hitting?
In the vicinity of Kendra Hatcher's apartment off of Cedar Springs.
And 11:40 a.m.?
Just to the south of her apartment.
And so why is it that some of these pin links show up in a full circle and some show up in a half circle?
Sometimes it's rotating around the tower because they're so close to the tower. Or it could be like this one, they could be on the actual south end of the tower. but it's usually depending on where they're at in relation to the tower.
And then 1:11 in the afternoon, where was his phone hitting?
Again, back in the same area of Kendra Hatcher's dentistry office at 245 East Grawweiler.
And then 1:18,
Vicinity of Kendra Hatcher's apartment.
I'm sorry, moving back. In this particular slide, 1:25 in the afternoon, where was he moving toward?
Towards his apartment on MD Love, 7272 MD Love.
The next slide indicates the call detail logs from Mr. Love's phone on September 2nd, 2015. And he also appears to have a lot of open space here. Showing his last, I guess, intake call at 15:29:08, which is 3:29. And then his phone becomes quite active after 19:47, which is 7:47 p.m.
That's correct.
And the next slide here, what are we looking at? Just a comparison of the two phones?
This is looking at Kristopher Love's phone and Crystal Cortez's phone, generally on the same time, which shows them in the same exact area at that time.
And then the next slide?
Let me look at the date and time. It's on September 2nd, 2015. Crystal's phone is hitting off the tower at 11:37, and Kristopher Love's phone is hitting around 11:31, so they're in the same area around the same time.
Now, this chart was created in what program?
This chart was created originally in Penlink, and then we extracted it to I2 to where we could add the photos of the defendants.
And can you point, if you touch your screen, to your left? The 131?
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
show that number?
Yes, ma'am.
What does that number indicate?
131 is indicating Brenda Delgado is contacting Crystal Cortez 131 times. So her phone is calling Crystal,
Okay.
or text messaging. These are both.
And then what about the 95?
That means Crystal Cortez is contacting Brenda Delgado 95 times via text or cell phone calls.
111, what does that mean?
111, the arrow is going from Kristopher Love's phone to Crystal Cortez's text message or calling 111 times.
And the bottom number, 46?
46 is an outbound call from Crystal Cortez or Kristopher Love, or a text message for 46 times.
And then the next slide shows calls from Kristopher Love to a number Mustang.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what does the 23 represent?
23 phone calls from Mustang to Kristopher Love.
And what does the 1 represent?
1 outbound call from Kristopher Love to Mustang.
Is it calls or calls and texts?
Calls and texts.
So Officer Freeman, looking at the communications between the defendants on September 1st through September 2nd of 2015, you made this chart.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct? Okay. And the yellow indicates the communication between Brenda and Crystal.
Yes, ma'am.
The beige is between Crystal and Kristopher Love,
Yes, ma'am.
and then Crystal and Joe Mechanic.
In the blue, yes, ma'am.
Permission to approach, Your Honor? You may. State's Exhibit 163 and 164. Do you recognize these items?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you recognize them to be?
These are a pen link phone analysis of Crystal Cortez's phone number.
And that's in 163?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about 164?
This is a pen link phone analysis extraction on Christopher Love's phone.
Is that different from the 164 that's already been admitted?
I don't know.
Yes.
I have 164.
Table 163 and 166 for correction, Your Honor. Thank you. Commissioner, you may. Officer Freeman, can you correct my mistake here? 166, what is State's Exhibit 166?
166 is a pen link phone analysis extraction from Christopher Love's phone.
And 163,
This is a pen link cell phone extraction analysis from Crystal Cortez's phone.
thank you.
You're welcome.
State is offering into evidence and tendering to defense for inspection, State's Exhibit 163 and 166.
Objection.
Admitted. Commissioner Armstrong, you may.
Now, Mr. Freeman, this is typical small print.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say a pen link analysis, what does that entail?
So I take the call detail records from the phone provider and import them into PenLink, and then I'm able to spit out a report that shows the date, time, service number, and the cell towers that are associated with those phone calls.
Okay, and so in State's Exhibit 163, this is the various calls from Crystal Cortez's phone number to Christopher Love's phone number.
That's the
right?
exact same thing. Yes, ma'am.
And then State's Exhibit 166 is call records from Christopher Love's phone to a number that was in his phone as Mustang. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, because we have covered so much about phones, why is it important to show the call detail logs versus the cell phone towers and the text messages when you're trying to present this information?
Can you rephrase that?
For instance, is everything that we have in the call detail logs, is that always going to show up in the cell tower or the extractions?
The extractions are not going to have everything. They could be deleted, and they're not going to be in there. The call detail records will show everything that's going on between a phone and another phone, such as text messages and phone calls.
Well, in 2015, did Metro PCS keep text messages on the call detail log?
No. Prior to that, they did keep text messages, and we could get a subpoena for those, but they did not have them at this time.
Absolutely.
No way.
Thank you, sir. You may stand down. You're free to leave the courthouse.
Thank you, ma'am.
Call Lee Thompson.
Good afternoon. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Sir, would you state your full name for the record?
James L. Thompson,
And would you spell your first and last name for court reporter?
James, last name Thompson.
And Mr. Thompson, how are you currently employed?
I'm an investigator with the Dallas County District Attorney's Office.
And how long have you been with the Dallas County District Attorney's Office?
Almost 1 year.
Prior to that, were you an investigator or detective with the Dallas Police Department?
Yes, sir. I retired after 27 years.
So just so we're clear, you retired from the Dallas Police Department and then came on board the District Attorney's Office to work as an investigator.
Correct.
During your time with the Dallas Police Department, at the time you retired, what were your duties?
I was assigned to the robbery unit and was working as a task force officer with the Violent Crime Task Force of the FBI.
Is that kind of a joint duty working with the FBI and that task force plus doing your Dallas police officer duties?
Yes, sir.
I want to turn your attention to September of 2015. Were you still assigned with that special unit with the FBI back
Yes.
in 2015?
Yes, sir.
And specifically going to September the 2nd of 2015, where you made part of an investigation involving the homicide of Kendra Hatcher.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the jury what role you played in the investigation, at least at the beginning? What was your role as part of that investigation?
Well, after the murder had occurred, we were working hand in hand with the homicide unit, just anything that the homicide detectives needed as far as proceeding with the investigation.
And was the FBI involved because there was information that potential co-defendant Brenda Delgado had fled to Mexico?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And so the act of leaving the country in flight, that automatically triggers the FBI's involvement in an offense like this?
Yes, sir.
Now, Eric Barnes was assigned as the lead investigator, the lead detective for that case.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And approximately, if you don't know the number, that's fine, but approximately how many other detectives were assigned to work this case?
I mean, several. Everybody just kind of pitches in and helps out.
It become, from the beginning, very clear that this was going to be a high priority offense.
Yes, sir.
And it was going to be a high profile offense.
Correct.
How often, just if you know, how often do offenses of this nature take place in that part of town?
Of this stature, rare. It's rare.
And during the investigation, was an individual by the name of Kristopher brought in, questioned, and arrested for being part of the offense?
Yes, sir.
And after being placed under arrest, was there information provided by Kristopher with respect to other parties involved in this offense?
Yes, sir.
Did she provide a description of a vehicle that one of the parties to the offense drove?
Yes, sir, she did.
Did she give a physical description of that individual?
Yes, sir.
Did she provide a description of the general area, part of town that this individual, this person, was known to habitate?
Yes, sir.
Also during the investigation, were the cell phones of Crystal Cortez and Brenda Delgado, were those cell phones seized pursuant to a warrant?
Yes, sir.
And pursuant to a warrant, were those cell phones searched?
Yes, sir.
As a result of the search of those cell phones, was there a common number that appeared on those two phones?
Yes, sir.
Based on that common number that showed up on those two phones, what were you asked to do?
A search warrant was generated in order to ping that common phone number.
Can you tell the jury what you mean by ping that phone number?
Excuse me, Jerry, quick, approach.
Detective Thompson, my apologies, the common number was a number that was on Kristopher's phone. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
And based on that number, what were you asked to do?
A search warrant was generated in order to ping the phone or find the location of the phone.
And you get started to explain to the jury what we're talking about when we say ping the phone.
It's a process where, based on tower information, you can triangulate and determine the location of a phone.
It's almost like, for lack of a better word, GPS tracking the phone.
Yes, sir. That's one way to put it.
And giving the information on what type of vehicle you were looking for and a description of the individual you were looking for in the area, did you proceed to go out to that area?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall what date that was?
It would have been, I believe, October 1st of 2015.
And were you accompanied by anyone?
2 agents or 3 agents of the FBI.
And at what point in your drive out there do they start the actual pinging process?
I believe it had already started on our way out there.
Are you in communications with individuals back at DPD who are actually operating the equipment?
It was actually being done by the FBI, so it was set up where we would receive messages or emails, I think every 15 minutes for a new location of the phone.
And were you given a location of the phone that was an apartment complex?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was in the area of Camp Wisdom and 67 South Dallas.
Now, the information that you had was telling you that the phone was pinging at that location?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury what you saw as soon as you arrived at that location.
Well, we drove to the location and kind of surrounded the area where the phone was pinging. And after being there, talking to Detective Barnes several times, and he passed the information about the vehicle that we believed was being driven by the user of the phone. We located that vehicle.
How long did it take you to locate that vehicle?
After talking to him, about 20 minutes.
And once you found the vehicle, did you make a decision to just sit and wait and see what happens?
Yes, sir.
Looking at the screen right there next to you, is that the vehicle you located? That's State's Exhibit 192?
Yes, sir, it is.
How long did you watch that vehicle before something happened?
Approximately 30 minutes.
And describe to the jury what happened after about 30 minutes.
A black male matching the description that I think was given to Detective Barnes by Crystal Cortez came off the second floor of the apartment complex, walked down the stairs and entered that vehicle.
And when he got in the vehicle, did he start the car and start to leave?
Yes, sir, he did.
Now, when he's leaving or traveling in that vehicle, what information are you getting from the FBI with respect to the pinging?
The phone, the ping ends up moving along with the vehicle.
Is it moving in the same direction as the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Are you able to tell if it's moving at the same speed or same rate of travel as the vehicle?
That I'm not sure. It moves in the direction that the vehicle's going.
Okay. Now, does he travel very far when he leaves that complex?
No, sir, just a couple of blocks away to an adjacent complex.
And what does he do when he gets to the adjacent complex?
Because I had been following him closely, I backed off and one of the FBI agents followed him around. He parked in a parking lot and one of the agents parked where he could keep eyes on the subject.
Okay. Once he parked his car, what information did you get with respect to the pinging?
The ping was pinging in the new location where his vehicle was at.
Did it show that the vehicle or the ping had stopped?
Yes, sir, it stopped with the vehicle.
And just so we're clear, we have it leaving and traveling with the car from one location, and when it gets to the second location, just like the car stops, the ping stops.
Correct.
At some point, did you make a decision to approach that person at that location?
Yes, sir. We called for uniform cover, uniform patrol officers to assist. And there was another incident going on at the time, so it took several minutes, maybe 20 minutes. And then once patrol officers arrived, we explained what had occurred, what we wanted to do, and then with their assistance, we approached the vehicle.
And when you approached the vehicle, were there 3 people at the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
2 males and 1 female?
Correct.
Did you ask them for identification?
Yes, sir.
Did 2 of them give you their correct identification?
Yes, sir.
Did you later find out that the 3rd male did not give you the correct identification?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury what you asked the folks back at the station doing the pinging, what you asked them to do with that phone number at that point.
I contacted Detective Barnes and asked him to call the number, the phone that we had been pinging. And he,
what were you hoping would happen?
well, we were hoping to have, that the phone would ring, and he called it, and it did ring, so.
Now, when you came upon these individuals, did you happen to see if there was a phone that was visible?
There was a phone on the trunk of the vehicle when I walked up, yes, sir.
And when you asked them to dial the number that they were pinging, what happened with that phone that was sitting on the trunk?
It began to ring.
With that information, was a decision made to bring those individuals in for questioning?
Yes, sir.
Going back to when you saw him get in the car at the previous apartment complex,
Yes, sir.
was he by himself when he got in the car?
Yes, sir, he was.
The person that got in that vehicle, drove it to the other apartment complex, parked, do you see that individual in the courtroom?
Yes, I do.
Can you point to him and describe a article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's sitting at the end of the table wearing a black suit.
And we ask that the record reflect that witness have identified the defendant in open court. Can we approach, may I approach him? Detective, I want to show you State's Exhibits 219 and 220. Do you recognize this individual?
That's the defendant on the night that we were pinging his phone.
This is how he looked and this is how he was dressed on the night that he was brought in for questioning.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'd offer States 219 and 220. Okay. Permission to publish? Black shirt, looks like black pants.
Yes, sir.
And then on 220, would you say that would be a fairly distinctive hairstyle?
Yes, sir.
So the person that you're pointing out in the courtroom today,
Yes, sir.
is that the same person who was later arrested for this offense?
Yes, sir.
Or approach again, Your Honor? I want to show you State's Exhibit 17. Do you recognize what's in that photograph?
That's the picture of the garage where the offense occurred.
Okay. And does it show a view from the standpoint of where Kendra Hatcher's car was parked, looking back towards where the Jeep was parked and the vehicle that he got out of when he walked down to her car?
Yes, sir.
And does it fairly and accurately depict that?
Yes, sir, it does.
Read off the State 17. No objection. Permission to publish? Now, this picture was taken approximately 2 weeks ago,
Yes, sir.
and several of us had gone out to that crime scene,
Correct.
and were you asked to walk off the distance from, well, first looking at that screen, show the jury the actual spot where Ms. Hatcher's car was parked.
Right here.
And show the jury the spot where the Jeep was parked as we look back up the ramp.
It was parked right there in that location.
And were you asked to mark off the distance between that parking spot and then that parking spot towards the top of the ramp?
Yes, sir.
And what would that distance be?
Approximately 60 feet.
And approximately, did you walk that distance yourself?
Yes, sir, and also measured it with the measuring tool on my phone.
And approximately how long does it take to get from that top spot down to where Ms. Hatcher's car was?
Just a few seconds.
Kaase witness.
I have no question.
Thank you, sir. You may stand down and you're free to leave the courthouse. We'll go back upstairs.
Call Agent Kaase.
Mr. Fitzmartin,
Yes, sir.
is this person bringing you in the lift?
Yes.
Okay. I need to take a short recess, but I need to get off the bench before the jury does.
Okay.
Does the jury need a break? Yes? We'll take a 10-minute break.
All rise.
Please be seated. Stand call your next witness.
Call Agent Dan Kaase.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
My name is Daniel Kaase, K-A-A, S as in Sam, E as in Echo.
And how are you employed?
I'm a special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
What is that agency?
Agency is responsible for the regulation and administering criminal violations of firearm laws, tobacco laws, explosive laws in the United States.
And where are you assigned currently?
I'm currently a special agent in the Dallas Field Division, officed out of the Dallas Arson and Explosive Group.
And what do you do for that group?
Currently, I've been a special agent with ATF for 19 years. I'm currently an explosive specialist since November of 13, and I work in explosive detection canine for that.
And I noticed that you brought your partner in here today, is that right?
I have.
What's your partner's name?
My partner's name is Canine Titan, T-I-T-A-N, and he's 7.5 years old.
And tell me what you and Titan do kind of on a regular basis.
Titan and I, we work as an explosive detection canine team. And what we do is our area of responsibility is in Dallas Field Division. It covers from El Paso to Shreveport, north of Waco, if you can draw a straight line across the state, and everything north of that, including the entire state of Oklahoma. What we do in that area, we're one of 30 teams in the United States. Sit, sit, sit. We're one of 30 teams in the United States, and what we do is we're called upon by federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies to assist in the detection of explosive materials, post-blast, evidence relating to ballistic type evidence, and Titan is specifically trained to detect those types of materials.
How long have you been working with Titan?
Titan and I became a canine team. I've worked with him since November of 2013.
And how do you have to go through training with him and to do this?
I do. Our training was in Front Royal, Virginia, and during that time it was 3 months, 7 days a week, no days off. During that training, he and I bonded. What we have to do is we have to go through a number of scenarios where the trainers set up explosive scenarios where my dog has to find the explosive related material.
And was he already trained to detect that before you got him, or are you part of the training of that?
He was already trained to detect explosive odor prior to me arriving. I'm the dummy of the team. He's the smart one. So basically he had already learned all the explosive odors. These dogs can sniff up to a combination of 19,000 explosive odors, to include military, commercial, and homemade explosives, and the components thereof.
Now, after you did that training, do you have to do regular trainings with him as well?
I do. Yearly, we have to do a recertification, and that's a 1 week long recertification. It's held at various places in the United States. During that certification, we go through a very stringent process. ATF relegates its dogs to 100% certification, basically meaning that our dog has to hit 100% of the odors. It cannot miss one odor during the course of that 1 week. We go through testing where the dogs are given training, or are tested in a room where we have 60 cans in a circle, 15 cans in each circle. Inside of each can, either is an explosive odor or there's a distractor. And these dogs have to go, put their heads in, smell, determine if there's an explosive odor, give the response. If it's a distractor, the dog is required to keep moving until it finds the explosive odor. We do this with 60 cans. We're also required to do vehicle searches. ATF holds the standard where we do at least 20 vehicles. In one of those 20 vehicles, there may or may not be an explosive material. We also are required to do a field search, where we're required to do a large, probably a 1 to 2 acre field search, where we have to deploy our canine in a 1 hour and determine whether or not there is an explosive material in that field.
And then, do you do regular testings with him each day, or trainings with him each day?
Daily. Titan is not your normal dog that you would give a bowl of food to. Titan is fed strictly out of my hand, has been since 2013. Titan only eats if he finds explosive odor. So basically every single day while he is working and while I'm with him 365 days a year, I have to set up a training for him, or I work with other officers to where he finds explosive materials or explosive odors. When he gives me the correct response, I reward him with his daily rations of food. I have to do that every day, 365 days a year until he retires. But I can't feed him all at once. I have to space his trainings out. I don't feed him at a regular time because when I'm working, I never know when the phone call I get from a police department. If I feed him, most people feed their dogs 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning. They come home and feed him at 5:30, and can't do that with Titan. I have to spread his trainings out. Sometimes he'll get all of his rations early in the morning. Sometimes he'll get them late in the evening. Or sometimes I'll work him all through the day, giving him a handful of food at every single training.
What type of dog is he?
He's a Labrador.
Did you have an occasion to do an investigation of a blue Sebring in a case involving a Dallas homicide?
I did.
Okay, tell us how that came about. I'm going to show you what's been marked as Stacy 192. Stacy 192 is the blue Sebring.
It is.
Okay. Tell us how. What were you doing with the Dallas Police Department at the time, right before doing this search?
On the morning of October 2nd, I had arranged to do what I call a demonstration for the homicide unit, or homicide officers, and the crimes against persons and gang unit officers for the Dallas Police Department. I wanted to be able to let them know what my dog, we were fairly a new team in the area, had been out of training since February of 2014, and I wanted to get to know the homicide unit as well as the other police officers that work these type of cases. Early that morning, I had set up a training at DPD headquarters, and I met with approximately 30, I would say there's around 30, 35 officers out in the parking lot. I had set out shell casings, basically brass shell casings that had been shot. I set out pieces of firearms in the grassy area. Now, when I set those out, I have to wear gloves because my dog knows my scent. So I have to make sure that he cannot smell me on anything I set out. So I set those out and did a training with him that morning and basically showed the officers how my dog could detect shell casings, projectiles, pieces of firearms. And this is beneficial for the officers at crime scenes. So we had just gotten done with that training, and I was putting Titan up in the vehicle, and I probably did 6 or 7 shell casings and firearms pieces that morning, lasting about 25-30 minutes, answered a few questions. The other thing that's important to note, when Titan finds something, he doesn't bark, he doesn't scratch, he doesn't pick up the item. He sits and he does not move. He will not come off of that odor because he knows if he comes off, he does not get fed. So he will not food when he finds explosive odor. So during that time, I had given him some of his rations. He'd given me the correct response and sat. And I do this in an off-leash fashion. Basically, I have no control of the dog. The dog is independent and the dog does his own thing. After we had trained that morning, I was in the process of putting Titan up, and I was approached by 2 homicide detectives, Detective Sayers and Detective Truviano. And they asked me if I could help them, if I could do a search warrant. And I said, absolutely. And they advised me, I said, well, is it a residence? And they said, no, it's a vehicle. I said, okay. I was not told anything about the case, had no knowledge of where I was going. I knew I was going to the Dallas Police Department impound lot, but no information was given to me, and I like it that way because I don't need to know anything about the case to do my job.
So you went to the impound lot with your partner, Titan?
I did.
And when you got to the impound lot, this is where you came across this blue Sebring.
Yes.
It's in State's Exhibit 192. What did you do first with your dog?
Initially, I got him out of the vehicle. The detectives asked me if they wanted me, if I would open the doors, and I told them normally you got to leave the doors closed, the vehicle, the windows up. This helps preserve any odor that's inside the vehicle. I initially walked Titan. I prepared myself, got his treats out or his food out, and I started a search of the rear of the vehicle, the exterior of the vehicle. This was done on leash, and basically what I do is my dog is trained to follow my hand, and so as I present areas of the vehicle to him, the dog is sniffing and searching. I give him a command to seek, and when I give him that command, he starts searching. I go around to counterclockwise to the front of the vehicle, present the seam of the hood, go around to the driver's side door, the passenger's driver's side door, and go around to the rear trunk seam and present that, and I notice no visible changes of behavior in my dog.
Did you eventually go and have your dog check the inside?
I did. At that point, I stepped away from the vehicle and I asked one of the detectives to open the front driver's seat of the vehicle. And at that time, I unleashed Titan. I gave him the command to seek, and he jumped up into the front driver's seat of the vehicle.
And did you notice any significant changes in his behavior when he got inside the car?
Titan initially jumped up in the vehicle. Normally we start searching the doors, the front inside doors of the vehicle. He jumped up, got up onto the front seat, and immediately I noticed what we call the throwing of the head. He lifted his head straight up and started looking at the seam at the top of the window, and I could tell immediately that something was different in my dog. We call this a change of behavior. Normally he's wagging his tail, doing that, but he got real still. I could hear his nose really working, and he had his head straight up, checking the top of the seam like the windshield area coming up. There was a console up there, and initially he checked that, but he started working his way down. When he worked his way down, he got to the front console area in between a open ashtray and I believe like a cigarette lighter area on the console. I could hear his nose really going at it. Now I'm standing outside the vehicle. The other detectives are on the closed window of the passenger side of the vehicle. At that time, Titan gives me a positive alert, which means at that point, he sniffs and he sat in the passenger side of the vehicle. At that point, that's a positive alert, and that means he's detective explosive odor. I gave the command again to seek. He threw his nose up and went straight back down to the area right in the open ashtray or open console area where there was a cigarette lighter. And again, I could hear his nose, and he again sat. At that point, one of the detectives, and I don't recall which one it was, told me, he goes, "Hey, you told us that that was an alert." And I said, "I understand." I said, "Let me just keep working my dog," because that was just the front area of the vehicle. I removed Titan out. I praised him and gave him verbal praise. Now, I didn't see anything on the dashboard. There was nothing visible. There was nothing right where he alerted. So I removed him, gave him verbal praise, put him up in the back seat. He searched the back seat with nothing. I removed him from the back seat. We opened up the trunk, and he jumped up into the trunk area of the vehicle, searched the trunk, and that was the end of the search. I got him back out. I told the detectives at that time, I said, my dog is what we call a trace odor dog. And I think it's important to explain what a trace odor dog. Trace odor dog means that my dog works off trace amounts of explosive odors. An example of this is if I held a firearm in my hand with a gloved hand, or if I place a firearm on this desk, and at one point I go to move that firearm to another area, I've had my dog alert where the gun was at. There's no gun physically there. Example also is one of our dogs, an ATF dog, during the during the Olympic Park bombing, Eric Rudolph, alerted on the steering wheel of Mr. Rudolph's vehicle. Well, physically there is nothing on the steering wheel. The dog gave a positive alert. The Federal Bureau of Investigation removed the steering wheel and determined, after they analyzed the steering wheel, that there was explosive odor or explosive residue from where the bomber had made his bombs with his bare hands and had touched the steering wheel. So these dogs can trace minute traces of odor coming off of materials. He can find projectiles that have been shot out of a firearm into the dirt. He can find shell casings, pieces of firearms that are minute, that haven't been shot in months, and they're giving off very trace odors. ATF is one of the only agencies in the United States that do trace odor dogs. Most explosive detection canines either work off of ounces, large grams, up to pounds when they train their dogs. We do trace odor. And the reason behind this is ATF believes that if a dog can find a trace, it can find 2,000 pounds.
So when you keep using the word explosive, and to lay people like myself, I'm thinking bombs. But inside a shell casing, there is explosive material that primes and is used to expel that.
Absolutely. You have to understand, when I say explosive material, what I'm referring to is anything that goes whiz, boom, or bang. Firearms have, I apologize about that, firearms have single base powder in them, double base powder in them, black powder. We train on C4. We also train on, for example, like homemade explosives, the chlorates, potassium chlorate, ammonium nitrate. What is ammonium nitrate? It's fertilizer, but it's still used to make explosive materials. My dog can find those type of materials. When I say explosive odor, it doesn't mean a bomb. Basically means that anything in materials that can go whiz, boom, or bang, and they may not be contraband. Possession of like C4 is contraband, but possession of smokeless powder is not contraband.
Commissioner Croce. I'll show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 201. Is that the interior of this Chrysler Sebring?
It is.
And is this the area where he alerted?
Yes.
Log station number 201 for all purposes. Okay. So when you're looking at Station Exhibit 201, are we looking at the passenger compartment, passenger side of this blue Sebring?
That's correct.
And then are you talking about, you said the console area?
The plastic gray console, that's correct.
Part I'm circling right there.
That's correct.
I'll pass a witness. I have no clue.
Thank you, sir. You may stand down and be entitled, my lady.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, members of the jury, we stand in recess until 8:30 in the morning. Thank you.
All right.